You know how the news just flies by? It feels like a total blur sometimes. But every now and then, if you just stop and connect the dots, a single week can tell you a huge story about where we are and, where we might be going. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at 1 week in Southern California and really unpack the story it's telling us.
So where do we start? Well, this week, our story really begins with a huge loss. The passing of a true titan, Reverend Jesse Jackson. And his family, they just put out this statement that, wow, it just gets right to the heart of his legacy, doesn't it? He was a servant leader, a life dedicated to service, not just for his community, but for the whole world.
But here's the thing. We're not just going to look back at Reverend Jackson's life. Think of it more like a lens. We're actually going to use the frame of his life's work, his fight for civil rights and justice, to help us understand everything else that went down this week. It all connects, you'll see.
Okay, just take a look at this timeline. I mean, it's incredible. It kicks off in 1960. He gets arrested as part of the Greenville 8 just for trying to desegregate a library. A library. Fast forward, and he's right there marching with Dr. King in Selma. You can just see the evolution, right? He founds Operation Push, he launches the Rainbow Coalition, and runs for president twice. Then he takes the fight straight to Wall Street, and get this, even at the very end, in 2023, he wouldn't say retire. He said he was going to pivot. What an absolutely incredible life of just relentless fighting for what's right.
And this quote, this is maybe his most famous. It just perfectly captures his whole vision. It's from his big speech at the 1984 Democratic National Convention. And it's so much more than just beautiful words, right? It's his whole political philosophy in a nutshell. This is the Rainbow Coalition right here. The idea that all our different pieces and colors don't make us weaker, they make us stronger, as long as we're held together by that common thread.
So that fight for the common thread he talked about, well, it is far, far from over. In fact, this same week, the echoes of the exact kinds of battles Reverend Jackson fought his whole life were ringing loud and clear, right in California's state capitol.
And this is what's so wild. There was this pretty awful racist social media post going around that depicted the Obamas. The California legislature moved to condemn it, and look at these numbers. The Assembly voted 62-0, the Senate 28-0, not a single no vote. I mean, seriously, in the political world we live in today, getting that kind of total unity, that is something else. It's really remarkable.
And Senator Akilah Weber Pearson, she's the chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus, she really didn't mince words. She put the seriousness of the whole thing in really stark terms. Her point was, hey, this isn't just about some ugly picture online. This is about defending the basic rules of our democracy.
But the political fights didn't stop there. Oh no. Later in the week, there was this big press conference. The governor was signing a massive $90 million emergency bill to protect reproductive health care access for women. So that was the topic. But look at the questions the reporters were asking. An oil refinery? The Olympics? High-speed rail? It was just completely all over the map. A total disconnect.
And that's when things got really interesting. California's first partner, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, she had enough. She stepped up and directly called out the reporters. She basically said, you wonder why there's a war on women in this country? It's because you all don't seem to care about the issue. Wow. I mean, it was a super tense, totally unscripted moment that just put a fine point on all the political tension of the week. Okay, so let's shift gears. We're going from all that tension up in Sacramento down the road to Inglewood for a really powerful moment of community pride. Because this week, Inglewood hosted the NBA All-Star Weekend.
And I love how this was put in the coverage. Inglewood didn't just handle the moment, it claimed it. That says it all, doesn't it? This wasn't just some big event that happened to be located in Inglewood. No, this was the city stepping up, taking center stage, and making the NBA's biggest party feel like it was truly, authentically theirs.
And man, what a weekend it was. The whole thing was just packed. You had the HBCU Classic, which brought so much culture and community to the forefront. Damian Lillard finally won the three-point contest. Keyshawn Johnson came out of nowhere to make a name for himself in the dunk contest. There was even a big health walk for the community in a local park. And to top it all off, local hero Kawhi Leonard dropped 31 points for Team USA. Just a huge success, all around.
Okay, so that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle for the week. And this is where that legacy of Reverend Jackson and the action we're seeing today all meets aspiration. We're going to move from the basketball court to something even more fundamental, the dream of owning a home and what that means for building generational wealth. And when you look at the numbers, the need is just so clear. This homeownership gap is a huge, persistent barrier. I mean, look at that difference. And you have to understand, a gap like that doesn't just happen by accident. It's a direct result of historical discrimination. It is the exact kind of systemic problem that Reverend Jackson spent his entire life fighting to tear down.
So what's the solution? What's being done right now? Well, that's where this Dream for All program comes in. It's a California initiative that's designed to attack the single biggest hurdle for most people, that giant down payment. Basically, it gives first-generation homebuyers a special loan for up to 20% of the home's price, giving them a real shot to actually get in the door.
And if you're watching this and thinking, hey, that could be for me, here's how it works. It's broken down into 4 clear steps. You talk to an approved lender, get your pre-approval letter, get your documents together, and then apply online when the window opens up. The whole point is to take this really complicated process and make it a little less scary, a little more accessible.
And if you want to know why this all matters, just listen to this. This is Tiffany Duvernay Smith. She went from being homeless to owning her own home because of this program. And her words are just so powerful. She talks about breaking through barriers and believing that if there's a house out there with your name on it, nothing can stop you. Her story it's just incredible proof that these programs can work, that these massive barriers really can be broken.
So when you step back and look at the whole week, you see it, right? The pieces all fit together. You have the legacy of a civil rights titan, the ongoing messy fight for justice in our politics, a community celebrating its moment in the sun, and this real, tangible dream for a more equitable future.
And it all kind of leads us to one final question. These clearly aren't just random, disconnected headlines. They're all chapters in the same big, ongoing story. So what is a week like this incredible mix of legacy, conflict, celebration, and aspiration, what does it really tell us about the next chapter? What comes next? It's definitely something to think about.